So not gonna be here.
Correct. Okay.
All right, let's start with our roll call tonight. Sonia Gallant.
Present.
Lelia Lengto.
Present.
Hillary Culhane present. Richard and Carol are not here tonight, but we have a quorum. So, do we have any public comment on matters not on the agenda tonight? Anyone calling in, any hands raised?
If you'd like to give a comment on Zoom, please raise your hand. There's no hands raised.
And here's one of my favorite parts of our Heritage Board meetings is the planning staff's oral report.
Okay, give me just a second here. Sorry, there's technical difficulties. Okay. So yes, a few items for you this evening. So the city has concluded its historic consultant RFQ process. It's taken us quite a while to work out insurances and whatnot. So a total of 5 firms have been selected. So we're in the middle of working out the agreements. It's with the lawyers now, but pretty soon here they'll start to see some work from other consultants. Second, as I'm sure the chair knows, the City Hall Historic Structure Report was released and the City Council held a meeting on the 18th, last Wednesday, to discuss it. And at that meeting, they've just decided to have an ad hoc committee of 2 of the members who are going to decide next steps and public outreach efforts to kind of get the word out. So I think for now, the process is on hold while they work through that. But as more information becomes available, I will certainly let you know. And then my final update is just about the plaques, as I'm sure Member Lonto knows. The Public Works crew is anticipating installing them after the July 4th parade. It sounds like they've been kind of held up preparing for that, but it is on their docket. So hopefully the next time you meet, I will have a more concrete update for you. And that's all I've got for you. So thank you.
Thank you. Alex, I have one question about the plaques.
Yeah.
Have they finalized the location for each of those plaques?
They have not. I believe they've just kind of taken receipt of them. They're at the corporation yard right now, but I do recall your conversation about wanting to do a walkthrough. I did pass that along to Julian, so I will, as soon as I get the heads up from him that it's occurring, I can certainly let you know and see if we can get that scheduled. And I guess speaking of visiting sites or whatnot, the conversation you've had about the Baltimore steps, that one, we're gonna have the consultant out there in the near future. They're waiting, they're trying to time it up with, they've got a couple of conferences they're going to, but then there's the project at 47 Madrone that's ongoing. So they are hoping to come out and verify that that has happened as it was supposed to occur, and that they will do Baltimore steps review at the same time. And I will let you know when that is all scheduled.
Great, and I'm assuming that would be later in July?
I'm still waiting to hear back from the contractor for 47 Madrone with kind of their dates, but I'm anticipating before winter.
Before winter.
Yes, I don't have anything more specific at this time, unfortunately.
Okay, okay. Well, that's great.
Nothing's gonna happen to the steps meanwhile. I mean, they're not in danger, Baltimore.
Right, right. There's not an urgency about the project other than just local residents who would like to see it be part of a larger project and cleaning up that part of the bike path and that intersection right there with Baltimore and Acacia. So, I mean, I guess we just kind of keep discussing it, moving it forward as we can, and when the consultant comes out for 47 Madrone, you said?
Yes.
Okay, then we'll walk through it at that time.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
All right, well, let's move on to 223 Magnolia Avenue, the public hearing for that.
Okay, I've got just a brief presentation for you if my computer will cooperate here. 1 second. Okay, So, yes, the item before you is PLN 25-006 for 223 Magnolia Avenue. For a bit of background, I've probably passed it on your way over here. It's just down Magnolia here. It's across from the bridge that spans the creek and just southwest of the Lark Creek shops. So there's the overhead view on the left here, and then the Google Street shot on the right. So the project is proposing a total of 429 square feet of additions to the existing residence. These would be located on what is essentially the rear of the structure and then the second story above that area. And the architect has provided a couple of renderings, and I have more of them later on for you. Here is the site plan. There's an existing garage that will be converted to an accessory dwelling unit and a new trellis that will be installed along Magnolia Avenue. And then in terms of the additions, the second story addition is outlined here, sort of underneath the red clouding, with the first story on either side and kind of behind it there. And here are the demolition plans. It's the first story on the left, second story on the right. That's most significant on the first story, where there's an existing addition on the rear that's being removed to be reconstructed a little bit larger. And in terms of the proposed floor plans, again, first story on the left, and that's going to contain a dining area and a main bedroom and bathroom, as well as a new staircase to access the second story. And then the second story is being modified to include new bedrooms, the bathroom, laundry, and to accommodate the new stairs.
Alex, I did have a question about parking, since there'll be no garage. What's required for that, or what?
So
Is that him?
because they're converting it to an accessory dwelling unit, and because they're within a half mile of a bus stop, excuse me, they're not required to replace the parking that they removed.
Oh.
It's one of the mandates of state law. Yes.
Thank you.
And here are the elevations. It's, the existing is on the top, proposed on the bottom, and here you can see the roof lines of some of the additions. Most noticeable on this eastern addition, or eastern elevation.
Eastern meaning the Magnolia Street facing side.
Yes, yeah. And then south and west, and again, it's, you can see the additions proposed here. I think it's really obvious on this, lower right elevation, what's being added. And then here are more of the renderings that were provided by the architect. This is the proposed second story addition here. And some of the work that you can see from the other angle. This is what you would see on the top left. That's what you would see from Magnolia Avenue. And it was reviewed by Jerry Holon, who reviewed the project and recommended approval with a few extra conditions. As noted in her report, the main conditions were to preserve the gable roof feature of the rear tower, to require new windows to have a simplified design to match the existing windows, that replacement materials match the original, which is proposed by the applicant. And then some more general ones, which are limiting chemical and physical treatment to the gentlest means possible. And that the consultant should review the project plans at the building permit stage, meet with the construction crew prior to the start of demolition, and observe the work prior to the final inspection. And so just in conclusion, very quickly, staff recommends that you hold a public hearing, take public comment, and forward a recommendation of approval to the planning commission, including the adoption of the recommended conditions. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and the owner and architect are here as well. Thank you.
Did the owner architect want to come and speak?
Sure. Here, do you want to kick us off?
If you like.
And then we'll jump in.
We see. I'm realizing now that that was not on. It'll take a second to warm up, but
Oh. Can you hear me?
I think you have to
Yes.
turn on the mic just so it picks you up.
So it's recorded.
Oh. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. I don't have that much to say, but I'd like to thank you for serving on this board and volunteering your time. I also want to thank Jerry for her report. She's a thorough historian. And we met with her a couple times during the design process. She was largely encouraging. And it seems that there's these two concerns, and I'd like to address both of them if I may. I also want to say that I think she recognizes, Jerry, that to preserve our heritage, we have to allow people to make these houses fit modern lifestyle. So That said, the two concerns that she was concerned about is the divided light windows. And essentially, she wants them to be more plain, undivided lights. And we thought, it seems strange to us that when this building was built, people didn't have the money to put fancy windows on the back, so they put inexpensive on the back and more fancy, more detailed windows at the front. Times have changed. It seems like if we have to make them undivided, but I think the reason is not because it's more historic, just because in those days they didn't have money to do divided light windows at the back. So we would hope that you might relax that position and allow my clients to put divided light windows. I think it looks better. The other concern was the skewering essentially a gable roof of a storage shed at the back. And I'd like to point to it, is we're not obscuring it, we're taking away a little of it, we're not obscuring the ridge. And if you walk through Dollar Park and you look back, you can see the ridge.
Yeah.
But you see a little less of the tower. And it seems to me that, typically when we have these kinds of hearings, we're talking about what do you see from the street? Or what do you see from the main vantage point? What do you see?
This tower.
Yeah, and you can see it, it's just obscured slightly.
That is the north elevation?
That is the north elevation. I need to point at something. Do you have a pointer?
I don't. Good job. I can point to it on
We
the.
have the plans too.
Okay, well, you can see the tower,
That's
you
existing.
can see the gable, we're not obscuring the gable, we're obscuring a little bit of the tower. And the reason we're obscuring it is because we've scrunched the stair in as much as we possibly can. And we just can't push, we can't push, that's all right, we can't push this wall of the stair any farther east.
Mhm.
Because if you do that, you don't get in bathroom upstairs, you can't use the laundry room.
Right.
So it sounds kind of crazy, can't you move it a few inches? No. So we're hoping is, we're not obscuring the ridge, we're just taking a little bit of the tower. And other than that, those are the things that Jerry had asked for.
Okay.
And.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna ask, so you're still keeping the same, original gable that's coming off the main roof?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Both the existing and in the
yeah,
plans?
yeah.
Yeah.
The main gable's not changed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so you're just adding sort of another gable in between the main gable and the tower?
Or adding another.
Well,
It's a shed.
from the north elevation,
We have a new shed, so that bedroom has a window.
so, but that was there before, or
No,
is
that's
it
a new,
bigger?
that's a new shed,
It-
it's bigger.
It's bigger.
It's bigger.
Yeah,
Jerry has
because
no problem with that, well,
We,
certainly.
no, because we lost an existing window there and otherwise it's our son's bedroom. Otherwise, it's like he's in a cave. So we
Enlarged. and
enlarged
existing.
the existing one to accommodate for,
Egress.
yeah.
Oh, I see.
Mhm.
I see.
Jerry didn't seem to find that shed longer.
Okay,
And she was very clear on preserving the existing hip roof and not touching that at all, so we don't change the existing hip roof lines whatsoever.
Mm,
okay, okay.
The front facing one you're
Yeah,
talking about.
what you see from Magnolia or from the front,
Yeah.
Right.
or from the park, the existing large hip roof.
Yeah, so you're basically adding sort of intermediate, sort of a middle piece there where the stairwell is.
Right.
Yeah, we're kind of pushing out the back.
Okay. Yeah, the tower is sort of funny. It's almost like there's a gap there and it's almost like an afterthought on the
It's-
house.
I don't know when it was built, Jerry suggested it was built many years ago, but it looks like sort of a recent storage shed. It's yours, there's no living space in it.
We suspect it was like an outhouse I mean, you can only access it from the outside. So we don't
Interesting.
really know. It's not, yeah.
So now you're gonna be tying into that.
Yeah, we'll be able to take advantage, assuming all goes according to plan.
That has the best view
Yeah.
of the creek.
Yeah.
That room.
But yeah, but otherwise it's kind of square footage that we don't get to use on the inside of our home right now.
Okay. And I had another question about the divided light windows. So currently there's, sorry. So currently there's divided light windows, if you look at the east elevation, so just to the left of the chimney. So that's where the divided light windows are that she was talking about, right?
No, those ones are staying.
Those are staying.
These exist.
Yeah, so the diamond shaped ones
Yeah.
are original.
Right.
And then past those, there's,
This one?
were these
Yeah.
added later or they're,
Well, this is new.
that's
Oh,
new?
that's brand new.
And
Okay, so this is what you're proposing, and then above that, there was no little tiny square. I guess that's what they mean by
Yeah.
divided light, the little mini
Yeah.
squares.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
Okay,
the reason we wanted to do that beyond what Jared mentioned is the roof or the porch that has since been enclosed from when it was originally built has that style, and we thought it would complement that and be more cohesive, so we included it.
Well,
all.
yeah, the porch, the garage
Yeah.
and the tower all have divided light windows, so it is harmonious with kind of some existing elements.
yeah,
Yeah,
And if you walk the neighborhood, every house, a lot of them have all divided light.
yeah, like the
windows.
47 Madrone has the exact same one, so we were like, oh, it kind of fits in with the neighborhood too.
it is nice looking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And you're removing the door that's next to that window.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
So the window, actually, the new one will be bigger.
Looks like it, yeah.
I think they're a little bit bigger for egress, is that right, Jared?
The dining room ones, they're a little bit larger
Little
than
bit
the,
larger.
the kitchen.
Yeah.
And if I could just add too, I know, so we bought the house in 2020. And when we bought the house, we met with Kristen Tyke, who used to be part of the city planning commission. She got us involved with Jerry back in like 2021. Then we weren't sure if we were gonna renovate, and then we worked with a different architect. That didn't work out, so we brought Jared on. So I think we've met with Jerry now no more than at least 6 times throughout the last, probably 3 years. So kind of what you're seeing is the culmination of
Mhm.
a lot of interaction with her, and these are kind of the final 2 items. I mean, we've talked about the roof lines, we've talked about even that stair tower we moved in for her. It doesn't seem to be enough, so we've tried to make as much accommodation as we can, and so kind of the last 2 items, like Alex mentioned, are really kind
Yeah,
of what's remaining, I guess.
Jerry indicated that there's a earlier design from September 2024, where she said that that was a preferable in terms of the stairwell issue. Why was that design scrapped? Is it, there was something else that didn't work, or what was the?
Yeah,
evolution?
that kept the stairs in the middle of the house where they currently are, and it basically, it basically chopped up the whole house the way it currently is. And it dumped them right into kind of the front door. And so we really wanted to get the stairs out of the center of the house to kind of open it up more. And so that assessment in September, we still hadn't figured out where to move the stairs, so we're still kind of working with her. And then we showed her the stair moving in November or something, a couple times, so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lily, did you have any comments or questions?
Well, my main thing was, I was so glad you were working with Jerry Holland, because she
Yeah.
has worked with us for so long and really knows the particular buildings well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I trust Jerry's input.
Me too, I think she's very thorough.
Before we start discussing, we should go. to public comment.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, yes, okay, do we have any,
Unless there's more questions, I don't want to cut off the Q&A period.
more questions? Going through my notes here.
Oh, I do have a question. So, you mentioned earlier that the reason why people would have used more plain windows in the past was affordability. But do we know that? Do we know that that's the case with this house? Like, there's no, because, I mean, they're pretty, they did use, those are, seems to me like those diamond shaped windows are pretty nice, so I don't know that money would have been necessarily a decision, or if that's just what we are conjecturing.
And along those lines, Jerry had mentioned the windows giving a feeling to the building and upgrading the windows to divided light. It gives the house more of an arts and craft feeling rather than the feeling of a rustic bungalow. I'm not an architect, I'll just say that right there, right up front. And I just find that interesting that a style of a building could be so influenced by the style of a window. And especially given that there's already diamond shaped, very, elegant looking windows on either side of the chimney. And do we know when the front porch was enclosed and those divided light windows added?
There's been 2 times it's been added. There was an older divided light pattern that was larger, that was done, I think, in the 50s or 60s. I don't know for sure, because it's in some photo that the city has, and then I don't know the current iteration when that was done, but there's photos of 2 different patterns in that front porch area.
Okay, so it's been at least 50 years that these windows have been in existence.
I would think so,
Okay.
yeah.
And there is another one that we have that I'm assuming it existed before the porch was enclosed as well, on the interior of the porch. It's not visible from the elevation, but it
Yeah.
goes, it flanks the corner of the house. So it's on like the interior of the house on
Okay.
the
North.
east and the north, yeah, the north.
The garage also has divided light windows, and we understand that that's original.
Okay.
And then the tower in the back has divided light wood windows, which,
So they used divided light windows in the garage.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's interesting.
it's-
Maybe because it's more prominent
it's part of the
toward the street.
architecture.
What was the
style of
garage
house.
original with, along with the house, or did they build the garage?
The
later?
garage is original, but then it was rebuilt in 95. But it's shown on some of the original maps.
So we don't know if the divided light windows were originally used in the garage. We just know the garage was, the structure was original, but we don't know if the divided light windows were part of the original structure.
We know that the garage was completely rebuilt in 1995, and it had to be rebuilt to match what was there before then, so
Okay.
that's all we know.
Well, we moved into the house in the garage, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, there were additional like diamond window, like paints?
Yeah, we have some of the
Paints
original.
that were original, that I'm assuming that maybe at one point they lived on the enclosure of the porch, and then maybe when they redid it, they changed it to more of that like
Like
square,
Horizontal
yeah.
rather than diamond.
So we were actually hoping to use some of them like in the house, because we love them so much,
Yeah.
like save them and maybe for like a transom or something, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know
Yeah.
for sure, but
Yeah, well, that's the thing with these structures, as we know, there's changes that are made before things are really documented.
yeah.
To that level of detail. I think it's time for a public comment. Do we have any hands raised?
There's a hand raised, phone number ending in 1402, should be able to unmute and speak.
James Holmes, Larkspur. I'd like to offer a couple of thoughts in support of the proposed divided light window in response to the garage. I should say I'm pretty familiar with that home and its original, the way it looked originally, because I've been going by it for decades. And yes, the divided lights in the garage are either original or the door is a replica. And those are very standard doors. I mean, you don't see many of them anymore, but those doors with panels and then six lights or 4 lights up above are very, very typical of that era. You can see them still in my parents' home at 124 Madrone and elsewhere. But anyway, regarding the divided light windows, I see 2 reasons for it. The front one. First, the existing wall where the current plain window is set back from the facade quite a ways, and it's next to a door, and together it reads like part of a service entry, which it is. By contrast, the wall containing the new window will be much closer to the front wall, and it sort of reads more as part of a facade. So it makes sense to have a front window that is a little bit more detailed and somewhat closer to the existing windows without duplicating them. And second, as I think this may have been mentioned, but the divided lights echo that window echo the divided lights of the windows that enclosed the entry porch before the current windows were installed, I would say about 10 to 20 years ago. As I say, I recall that house and the way it originally looked very clearly, having gone by it many times, and although the owner, Mrs. Kirk, who had bought it from the original owners in the 40s, was something of a mystery. We didn't know her, but the house was very prominent from the street. It was not obscured by bushes at the time. And the divided lights that then enclose the big divided light windows that then enclose the porch are very, very typical of the types of windows in enclosed porches and sleeping porches at that time. So it kind of makes sense to allow for a bit of an echo of that former type of window in the window on the other side. Thank you.
Thank you, James. It's always nice to hear from you.
Gotta get his number.
You know, he always gives like just the real historic perspective,
That's great.
not out of a textbook, but by some kid riding by on his bicycle, remembering stuff. I mean,
Wow.
I don't know how old you are, James, but I always love your commentary.
Come and introduce yourself sometime. We'd love to meet you.
Anyone else with comments?
No.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Well, I actually am impressed with how they kept so much.
Yeah.
Of the historic character and still making it into a home that's more suitable
Yeah.
for a family
Yeah.
in these times.
Yeah, I am too, and I know it's not easy when you're working with kind of this very small footprint, right? You've got the creek that's right there, you've got the street that's right there, and you've got the historic constraints. And I think this plan is very nice, and I like the way it kind of pulls into the tower, this sort of standalone tower. I think it's nicely integrated, and I think a case can be made for adding the divided light windows. I think they would look elegant, and even if they, you know, elevate the status of the house to more arts and crafts than rustic bungalow, that's okay. And let's see, I think Jerry had some sort of recommendations to meet the standards. And I don't know that I have to list all of those in making a motion, do I, Alex?
No, you don't. I would just note that if you're okay with the divided lights and the tower with the staircase, I would just make a note of that in the motion rather than calling out each individual, because anyway, I would call those out if that's what you would like to see, and then the rest of them we will just forward along to the planning commission as the other conditions of approval she would suggest.
Okay,
So we would be waiving those standards, right? To meet standards 2 and 5, the gable feature on the tower should be preserved and the new windows should match the character of the original windows. That's part of the
What page
standards.
are you on?
I'm on page 10, the bottom of page 10.
Page 10. Oh, yeah, okay.
well, I think the gable feature on the rear tower is preserved.
Yeah.
So it's just, we're not seeing as much of it.
Correct.
Okay. And the new windows should match the character of the original windows. So I think when it says match the character of the original windows, that could be read as original windows in that location there. Sort of,
Hmm.
you know, by the door.
Size and scale.
Yeah, or original windows in other parts of the building, you know, the front porch or the garage. So I would think, I think personally, I think the divided light windows would be very elegant and it would be an echo of the front or the north elevation, the enclosed porch. So what do you think, Sonia? Lillian?
Well, I like the new design, in terms of design, it seems to me to blend in with the rest of the house.
Yeah, it's not a glaring modernization by any means. So I think we could make the finding that, that this meets the, number A, that the gable feature is preserved and that the divided light windows, are acceptable. Is that what, is that phrasing enough?
I would offer a friendly recommendation of making a motion to forward a recommendation of approval, noting that the divided light windows and the tower of screening as proposed are okay.
Okay,
If you're in favor of that.
anyone want to take a stab at that? I'm always happy to open it up to my fellow board members.
Well, you'd have to give me the wording.
So you were tasked with forwarding a recommendation of approval to the planning commission, subject to the conditions of approval as suggested by the historic consultant. However, without requiring the divided light windows to be removed or modifications to the statement.
I would make that motion.
So I also want to stress too, that we keep the historic consultant involved.
Mhm.
And I think, condition H is that the historic consultant shall observe building construction prior to final building approval. And I think H and I, G, H and I involve just consulting with her. So I would like to make sure that
Yeah,
that's followed.
those are in the conditions that were
Okay,
just in the motion, so we do need a second.
Oh, I'll second.
okay, all in favor?
And,
Aye.
Okay, motion passed, thank you very much. 2 absences and 3 ayes.
That's it. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
And thank you, James.
Yeah, thank you.
thank you for coming up with the correct wording.
Oh. And I will just note for everybody attending the meeting and for the owner applicant, I will be noticing this for the July 8th planning commission meeting, assuming that works for everybody.
That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so moving on to the next business item, which is the approval of the April 24th meeting minutes.
I missed that.
Oh. I was there. And, Larry, did you happen to see, the only thing I noticed was, I just had a question about, because we were talking about 455 Magnolia. The, what's the name of the restaurant going to be called?
You know, people have asked me that, and I can't remember.
What's it called?
Firma?
Firma, thank you, Firma. It said, the property architect and property owner, Boren Hamandi. But I think it's owned, that building's owned by the church, correct?
That is, yes.
So I don't know if that's the proper designation there, so.
Yeah, I will make that.
So is that the restaurant one? Person who will own the
Yeah,
restaurant.
so I'm assuming he's leasing the space and doing the remodeling.
Right.
Because the Monsignor was here.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Speaking, favor of it.
Yeah, no,
But we really didn't get if there's a transfer of taxes, I mean, we don't know.
It's still gonna be owned by the.
Owned by the
Yeah,
church.
You know that.
good call.
Other than that, I,
Where is that?
oh, it was just right there.
On the face, on the property, I see it.
Other than that, everything else was fine. And I move, Lily,
Well, I'll move that we approve the minutes of April 24th.
I second. And there's just two of us that were there, so is that okay?
I'm gonna say that if Sonia feels that she's reviewed them and can vote on it, that would be great, otherwise, they'd have to return at the next meeting.
Oh, gosh,
It's
well,
not-
I did read that, and it looked great, I was like, it'll be fun, I did not catch what you thought there on that. Yeah.
You might not have known.
You wouldn't have known it.
Well, no, I do know about that impact on that, that's when I saw it on here, I was like. "Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would say I can go along with them.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
All in favor?
I,
Thank you. Thanks.
and I guess board member reports. Anything to add about the plats?
well, you're just waiting to see when they'll have time to do it. So it's after the 4th of July, and thank you for tracking down a date for us. And I do think it would be a good idea for us to walk the sites with Julian Skinner or whoever he assigns,
Okay.
just to make sure that
Okay.
how they're gonna be situated. And then they worry about what's in the pipes. And whatever they're getting into,
Right.
so there has to be some compromise in that. But the work, I'm sure, but we've already walked through once. So I think Julie knows where we want them.
Is that something we could all be invited to and all go to and?
If you all appear, it's technically a meeting, so you need to have less than a quorum, or we'd have to notice it. So I would,
It's only two people.
Only to, but I mean, if we call it a meeting, then what does that entail? We open it up to the public, but.
yeah, I'd have to talk with the city clerk about the specifics of a remote meeting like that, just to confirm, but I can.
It would be a remote meetings. It's not in one place, we'd be going to the different sites.
Yes, in the past, when I've done meetings like that, you open and close the meeting at each spot, and you
Oh,
tell them
boy.
that the next meeting will start at the next spot, and you have to
That's fine.
wait when you get there until that time. It can be quite complicated, but I can certainly explore that and I can let you.
Well, it might be nice to have people join with us like James Holmes. I don't know who else.
Yeah, and would there be a way to notify people like Marilyn and James Holmes and anyone, or can we do that sort of informally and just say, hey, look, we're gonna be meeting with Julian Skinner at the foot of Baltimore and.
Yeah, I don't really have a way to, well, I mean, you could do it informally.
Yeah,
I
so
suppose.
for example, Lelia, who's been our point person all along. She could reach out to some key people in the community, not necessarily board members.
But
Yeah, I
Marilyn
mean,
River actually.
It would be
wrote,
Yeah,
Did them.
because it's a meeting, it
She's
would
not
have an
on the
agenda that
city.
gets published, so whoever's on the noticing list for this board would give a heads up. I don't know if they're on that, but then, of course, yes, you can informally let people know.
Yeah, I think it would be, I mean, it can't hurt because we want people to be enthusiastic about it, because we'd like to do more.
that's
You
right,
know, another round of.
that's right.
of them. And one that is problematic has to do with the Native Americans with the Miwok's.
Mhm.
There's some conflicting ideas where it ought to go among themselves.
Mhm, mhm.
So that whole round, there'll be some other ones that we want
Yes.
to include in that. But the
Yeah.
first 5 would be good.
Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to see them. So they're here in the city, it sounds like.
Yes, they're somewhere. Julian has them housed somewhere.
Oh, that's exciting. Aren't you excited to see them?
Yes, but I don't want to have to unpack anything.
Oh, you're so kind.
We're counting on you.
Yes.
Couldn't be done without.
So, how about you, Sonia, any updates or interesting things that you want to bring to our attention this evening?
Tonight.
So I just wanted to piggyback a little bit onto what Alex was talking about with the city council meeting last week. And I attended that and I got a copy of sort of the core of the historic architects report, Page and Turnbull. It was very interesting. And there's also, I'll put this on the record, there's also a printed out copy in the library of the
Oh,
full plans and everything, because it's
And I
big
read
document.
it online.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
A little tricky to read it, but you can, it's there.
yes. And I don't know, maybe there's a copy, I mean, I just grabbed this from the back of the room. But basically, it boiled down to three different, scenarios for the building. And so the city council is going to move forward with creating this ad hoc committee. Catherine Way, and I think Stephanie is going to be on that too. I don't know if they're going to include anybody else from the community or the Heritage Board, but Catherine did mention that the Heritage Board should be involved. So that gave me hope. And so there's a, what is it, 5 to 10 year plan, a 20 to 30 year plan, and then a 50 to 100 year plan. And each one has a price tag on it and different parameters and levels of work. And so the big push is going to be raising community awareness and getting suggestions and kind of involving the community in what comes next with this building. And it's kind of an exciting, this is the first big concrete study or survey of this building, as far as I know. So take a look. And hopefully people can start thinking about this building as the library gets completed on Doherty Drive. I think people's attention is going to start shifting that direction. I just want to say one thing is, I was here, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and they had like this whole parking lot of strollers downstairs. Cause I think it was story time in the library, and I counted, and there were 20 strollers. And I was thinking to myself, these are young families that have moved to this community, and they have an investment in this building, at the library, to be sure. But I sort of feel like that's sort of one area of marketing or reaching outreach that we can think about is working with the library. So moving forward, I just hope that the Heritage Board can stay in tight contact with City Council, and we inform each other of ideas. So that's it.
I'm just on the library, I use it a lot. They were having a puppet show. And we're talking dozens of people.
Yes.
So I mean, they have some really interesting shows, I guess,
Yeah,
and activities that
Yeah.
really do draw a lot of people. So
yeah.
it's good you mentioned that as a group of people that might be interested in
Right.
urban city hall.
And if we can figure out ways to
Some
bring,
capacity.
yeah, I mean, those activities into this building, even after the library vacates. Like, how can we make this a public building? Because I'm sure a lot of people just associate it with, oh, going to the planning commission. Sorry, Alex. But, I mean, people sort of associate this with official city business or planning
Mhm.
department. But the historic use of this building was very much for community events. I mean, movie theaters, celebrations, dinners. So I think maybe just moving forward, we can start kind of quietly brainstorming
That's a very good idea for uses of the space.
uses of the space. Okay, so that's all I want to say.
Is there a timeline on the city gonna decide which approach they're taking?
That is what the ad hoc committee has been tasked with, so I think it's still, in its infancy, so I would expect probably more, information about what's going on, what they're thinking. I would just pay attention to the city council meetings, and then as I hear anything that you might be interested in, I can of course pass it along.
Okay.
Yes, because I think, like Joan Lundstrom was also there speaking, or Joan Lubermersky, Joan Lundstrom called in. And I think there's probably ways to tap into members of the community in terms of how to create like mailing lists or a newsletter or some way of tapping in or connecting with people.
Yeah, especially with the Larkspur Community Foundation.
Right,
They've got quite an extensive.
Right.
network.
yeah. But there may be new families that, I remember being a new family coming to Larkspur and I didn't know anything that was going on, other than my next door neighbor was the mayor. And so, Dan, so I kind of, you know, because you're so busy, right, with your kids and you're so focused on the schools and that, you don't necessarily think about the municipal aspect of Larkspur. So I'm not sure how to like raise that consciousness in people, but we can think about that.
Well, I think your idea of maintaining the space is partly a community space, not just, sending everything to the library is a good way to do that, because if you're familiar with the building, if you're coming in and out for other reasons, then the city council meetings, the planning commission meetings are already a little bit familiar with the space, like
Yes.
that alone, I think is the valuable
Yes.
part of, maintaining a community space.
Yeah, but how many people actually come up the stairs and sit in this room? You know, I mean, usually people, I mean, you see how sparsely attended the meetings are. I mean, there's hardly anybody that comes to these meetings up here.
If things were on the same level, or even when I came in tonight, I read everything on the bulletin boards downstairs before coming up. So it's
Mhm.
even like that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
connection.
I wonder if like having some sort of event up here that's not a specific city council or some kind of meeting, but some kind of gathering or Cub Scouts meetings, or you know what I mean, like things that are like. I know it's hard to get on the calendar, but like during the daytime, this room is pretty empty from what I see.
Sometimes there's meetings in here, but it depends, too.
Well, I think some public use, things that is an important issue.
Or maybe have schools do a field trip. You know, like is it third grade or fourth grade? I forget it.
Fourth grade used to be that history,
Right,
I think.
so have the a classroom teacher bring a set of students in here and they could sit on the dais or have like a mock trial. I'm just spitballing a little bit, but I'm just thinking of ways to kind of build that connection with the space.
It's a good idea, so we have time now.
Yeah.
We do, and it seems to me that city council has kind of come around to the idea of really preserving and taking care of this building.
Mhm.
Like, there was not one mention of leasing it out or,
Oh,
so, which was really great. They were excited. That was my impression, like reading this report and talking with Paige and Turnbull, that there was this sense of like, wow, this is an amazing building and we can rehab it. We just need $26 million.
yeah, another aspect. I
All right.
read about that.
Okay, well, I think that's everything that's on the agenda, correct, Alex?
We approve the minutes.
All right, so I move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right.